Hello and welcome back to Forgecraft, Season 2.2, Episode 8. And so far the setup seems to be working nicely. I threw some charcoal in, though not all the engines are currently working, but it's working actually pretty quickly. But other than that, that's not really what we're doing today. We need nether quartz dust. Now, there's also something else I want to do. Okay, that no longer works. Need to make sure. I was looking at the blood-stained stuff. The energy crystal. What's its recipe? Okay, now we need 4 diamond dust. Okay, that's actually something new. And I know how to make that, though. Unfortunately, it's mildly expensive, but it's worth in the end for having a million EU. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain my current power leggings, because I don't really need them on hand, as I don't have any upgrades for them. I have a very good reason for doing this, though. And none of those have any other energy in them. That's good. Usually I'd throw some extra energy in that, but I need this to be working enough. I also went and chopped down a little bit of eucalyptus. As you can see, this is kind of a pain to do so, but once I get this setup working, it'll work very nicely. And while that's working, wrong bag, I need one of you and both of you. I made these extra 2 sticks. Oh, forgot that iron. Purposely. At least I kept them on hand. A quartz cutting knife. That's done. Good. Now I need this, and did I need a compressor for that, or did I just need to cook it up? Let's see. Yep, compressor. Which by itself isn't too big of a deal. It's pretty much just another circuit, which... Actually, do I even have the rubber to make that? I'm guessing not. I might. I think I have some sticky resin. I went around and chopped stuff down, so it's likely. But I'm guessing I don't. Well, not a big deal because I have rubber wood. And the extractor can work with that. While that's working, I'm going to need to cook up some of this dust. I'm just going to use some of this charcoal. Pretty much 16 should be plenty to start with. Throw a thing of charcoal in there and throw that extra 8 wood in. Should be fine. And I should have plenty of power here. Yep. I'm guessing there's a creeper somewhere. You can hear him. Actually, I'm guessing there is because... Oh, you know what? I actually know where that is, and that's upstairs a little bit. Don't know why there's a hole missing there, but oh well. It's going to take too long for me to start working. Here we go. And having a ton of redstone really helps. I'm just going to take it all. So the first thing we need is diamond. This will make a advanced processor assembly. One of the primary units for the ME controller. The ME controller, which should be somewhere right here, requires an advanced processor, basically an advanced processor, and fluix crystals, which are actually pretty cheap. They're just Certus quartz, nether quartz, and redstone. So I need 4 of you, and 1 of you. Along with some redstone, and I think it's just a shapeless recipe. I'm probably also going to need, to start with, one of these, which is a gold one, which is actually a basic processor. And personally, those don't matter as much, but they work enough. Let's start with this one because it's pretty much the cheapest one. I can grab the iron now. I can just grab that, convert that into iron, the fluix crystals, and the advanced circuit processor thing, whatever it is. ME controller. Now personally, that's kind of the reason why I made this for the most part. I wanted it for not only this use, but I wanted to have something that could charge these, and unfortunately the basic one does not work for that. But this is a high voltage machine, and it's another reason why I wanted to have my other setup. And there. This drains a very small amount. I mean, it's like 500 every 4 seconds, or maybe even less than that. It's very easy to maintain with the amount of power I can get. I need the basic processor, because I also need, well, I like to have these ME drives, so I'm actually going to need more than that. Oh, wrong one. I'm going to start with a pretty cheap one, but I'm going to be able to upgrade it later on. Let's start with this. Toss these in. And while that's cooking up, I could probably start working with making the memory for the first drive. Where is it? Yeah, right here. Just need this. Very cheap 4 Certus redstone. Throw that in there, and probably just going to take all this. I'm going to need it. That's a very cheap one. If I remember correctly, it's just this, that, and some glass. Might as well just take all of this for the most part. I'm going to need more iron anyway. Throws 2 glass here. This is a empty storage, you can shift right click and remove the actual storage cell and put it together later on. That allows you to upgrade these, but it's best to do that when they're empty, like I did. Because if you put items in there and then you remove it, yeah, you just lose all those items. In a sense, it's a very cheap void chest. But all jokes aside, that's pretty much a very big waste of items to do so. Okay, need a chest and some iron. I forgot about the chest. Which is cheap enough. Chest. That. Glass. Iron. This gives you the ME drive. Now you can have the ME chest, but I prefer the ME drive just because, well, it holds 10 instead of 1. Now, as that is, still uses very little power, but you'll start noticing an actual drop eventually. Personally, I like to have a lever on the actual power source to prevent a bleed off of energy when it's not required. And the ME system tends to have a... Come on, where's the stone? I know there's stone. I only need one right now, actually. The best way to disable power to just that is to throw a whatchamacallit, a lever on that, and I think that should affect the redstone thing. It should, maybe. Emit redstone. Huh. Okay, that's not how it was. I need to get that to nothing. If I remember correctly, I'm messing up now. But who cares? But yeah, this very cheap, not an issue. Now what we need is something more important, the ME access terminal, which by itself pretty cheap, but you need this. That is easily made with this, and this. It gives you 2. You just need 3 for now, but you're going to need more, so I would suggest making quite a bit of it. Don't waste all of your Certus quartz dust, because you probably need that as well. I can actually access it from here. What you do with this is you can make 3 ME cable. Now, that's not the only thing you need with this, because the access terminal requires this, which requires more Fluix dust, but it also requires one of each crystal and a basic processor. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of these basic processors being used. So personally, I suggest making roughly 10 basic processors, and you'll definitely use all of them when you're building these setups. And probably you want to have at least one of the advanced ones, but 3 tends to be okay. One of these, gets you that. And if I remember correctly, that's all you need. And the access terminal. The access terminal is your primary machine with this. And it doesn't matter if it's connected to this stuff, as long as that it's connected to the machine. It can be connected to an adjacent block or ME cabling. And this allows you to actually access this one storage unit. And you can now store stuff. Say you want to throw that in there. That is now in here. If you remove it, as you see, it's now 0 out of 1024 bytes. And this is one of the this is pretty much my favorite storage system. Now, what else should I start with this? This is pretty much the basic setup, but I'm going to need a lot more. So I'm just going to take a bunch of this stuff. I have tons of saplings, so I'm just going to burn them. I have a bunch of the trees growing anyway, so not a loss. Because I'm going to need more. More of what? These. Again, these are actually quite needed for a lot of things. And this is because I'm going to need a basic import, a basic export, and I'm probably going to need more Fluix dust at one point for more cabling. Oh, I'm going to. So I'm going to make 3 more. Personally, because I'm going to make another storage unit afterwards too, but for now, I can just use this. Later on, I'm going to need to start making these ME assembler containment walls, heat vents, crafting CPU, and where is it? Not these. It should be okay. Power and provider. Which by themselves are pretty easy to do. Okay. What I'm going to need here is, move this down here, I'm going to need the basic import and basic export. Basic export requires an ME interface, which requires conversion matrix and an ME cable. Those by themselves are not that expensive. Again, it just requires one of these, and if I remember correctly, it was just I need more Fluix dust. As I said, Fluix dust is one of those important things that you probably want to get quite a bit of. Just remember not to use it all. I'm going to need 2 of these. I'm going to need more. Wrong on that. Probably just need that. I just love this portable crafting bench, how it's keeps everything semi-organized. I'm going to need 2 of these. Two of these, and if I remember correctly, it just needs iron for the rest of it. As you see, it's very expensive in resources to start these, but once you have enough of these, it's well worth the investment. And I don't have that much glass anymore, so I'm going to actually need to cook some up. Luckily, I have plenty of charcoal, and thanks to my quarry, plenty of sand. Just take a stack. That should be fine. Do note that that thing will bleed out a lot of energy over time. So this will need a steady income of power. As you saw, it's gone down from 400,000 to 390,000. It does drain. And this is probably using 10, yeah. It's pretty much 2 for any connected machine, and 1 for every cable. But for now, I'm also going to need the stone, and hopefully that should be what I need. I need wood, don't I? I'm gonna need more wood than that. Oh yeah, one other thing, I'm gonna need this. Because I'm going to need some pistons. I'm going to need 2 of them. Some iron and some redstone. Now I'm going to need one of these to be a sticky piston. That's guaranteed. Let's go for the basic one again. Gonna need more cabling. But pretty much these are just the same things, so you don't really have to worry about, as long as you don't mix them up. The basic import requires a sticky piston, basic export needs a piston. The import, very cheap one, it's basically just absorbs anything in an adjacent inventory into the system. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to make a chest. Just any random chest. Doesn't really matter for that. Do note, however, that this does drain extra energy for doing so. So I'm just going to throw this chest here. And, if I remember correctly, that. Now, if I say, throw that stone in, it's actually going to just be imported into this system. Very useful. In fact, it's very, very useful. Now, that by itself is really good for, say, quarries, or this type of thing. You can import all of this into the system. But, what if you want to do some crafting, or automatic crafting? You do a basic export. Now this thing, it will say, throw any gold into this inventory. So, it's just going to chuck all that gold into this inventory. But what if you want something better? What if you want to have multiple things go into that inventory? Well, that's why you have the basic processor. You make a precision export bus. Now with this, you can export multiples. Say you want all iron, gold, and redstone to go into this chest. Iron, gold, redstone. Now if you throw that in, only the iron, gold, and redstone will be sent there. Very valuable. And that will actually help when you're making a lot of these, say, extractors, processors, that basically your processing assembly line. This also makes ore from here easily taken into the system, sent to the macerator, then have a basic import, take the crushed ore back into the system, send it to the washing machine with an export. It gets washed. Basic import takes all the materials, send it back, and when the thermal centrifuge is made, then you can easily just put more here. You can send it through there and it processes it even further and get the dusts and stuff. And finally it ends up, you can even have it smelt the stuff. Man, these things are getting annoying. But for now, I just need to make, I have some copper, don't I? I need that. Because I'm making a compressor. I'm gonna need some iron too, but oh, wrong button. There we go. Throw that in there. That there. Open this up. I'm gonna need a bit of iron hammered down. I only need one. I'm gonna need some extra room here. I also made some stone. That's what I wanted to grab. I think it's in the bottom one. Yep. I'm gonna need 6, and hopefully that recipe hasn't changed for the compressor. And I put away the redstone. Electronic circuit. Basic machine block. That. Okay, how do you make a compressor again? Okay, I had it accurate enough. The compressor. Now, the compressor itself, very easy to work with. I'm just going to do this. Now it's going to get power from that, which should be still working quite nicely. Throw this energium dust in there. And this will basically be my way of removing the energy from this thing. And I'm going to be able to slowly input energy later on. Energy crystal. Now, just toss this in here, and it'll siphon off all that energy. I have my reasons because I'm going to be moving this stuff for the most part later on, and this isn't exactly required right now. But this is the basic setup, and I'm going to have to move it eventually, along with everything here. But that'll be in a later episode. Now, something you can also do is you can compress this Certus quartz dust into actual Certus quartz crystals again. But the compressor usually has quite a few different uses, and that should have. This has an internal battery, and it keeps up for a good bit of time, but after a while it does die out. And for now, that should be good. I'm going to need, however, a couple other things so I can actually move this stuff. I want a wrench. But not just any wrench, I need an electric wrench, which needs a small motor. Very cheap for the most part to make. I'm probably going to need to make one anyway, so I don't need to, but I prefer to make them just because when you use a normal wrench, you have a chance of breaking this stuff, and that would be very sad. Very, very sad. So while that's running, I need to use this, and I have the other stuff. I'm going to make another battery, so I'm going to need some tin. Good. Now, that, make that. Then you need to make the electronic circuits. Uninsulated copper wiring, very cheap to make. Iron casings. You also want this, which is also, it's pretty cheap for the most part. I'm going to need more tin though. I'm probably just going to take all this because I'm probably going to need it. I'm going to need at least 2 more of them hammered down into the plates. The coil, very cheap. I'm actually going to need a lot of copper for this thing, so just might as well take that, and probably a few of those just to make sure. Also going to need some iron, which is not hard to come by, luckily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to need at least about that much. Cut that down. I'm going to need 2 coils, which they're semi-expensive, but not too bad. Then I'm going to need, what was it? I think it was just this. 1 electric motor. Good. Need 2 iron casings. Pretty cheap. All you need to do is take this and hammer it down. Now I don't think you, oh yeah, you can actually make the iron casings. I know you can't make iron wiring, which is kind of odd, but I guess who really cares right now? I'll be needing this copper wiring for that circuit and the battery. I'll just keep this in here and I can just use the other crafting bench when it's done. There we go. Throw this in here. Hammer 1 plate out. Need some redstone. There we go. Throw this in here. You now have the small power unit. And to finish it all off, you need bronze. 6 of it. And you just need to make a new wrench. That plus this equals electric wrench. And with this, just charge it up. Very cheap. For the most part, you could just keep charging that pretty easily. And with that, you can actually just, I think it was, okay, I pressed the button that I know is probably wrong. It's probably crashed my system. It's the power menu, yeah, it crashed. But I'll see you guys in the next episode. If you like what you're watching, subscribe. If not, oh well. Have a good day.